It's not about the guys wearing the headset on Sundays all that much. It's important to have a good head coach, but generally it is the players that determine what happens over the course of a 60-minute game in the National Football League. And to that point, DeMeco Ryan said as much when he was asked about another matchup with Shane Steichen, head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, also going into his second year.
I don't look at it as a history, right, between me and Steichen. Like, it's about the players playing the game, right? Our players, Shane is a really good coach. He always has his guys prepared, ready to go, really respect him as a coach. And for me, we got to do the same. Like, just have our guys prepared, ready to go, ready for anything that they may throw at us. So it's not about me or Shane. It's about the players who strap it up on the field.
Strap it up.
I definitely agree with him, but I thought your questioning when DJ was in here is totally fair about Steichen versus DeMeco.
I thought Steichen pantsed DeMeco in week 2.
Yeah.
Second game of DeMeco's head coaching career. And to what you said earlier, I mean, it did get a little bit of help with Brock Purdy's elbow not working anymore.
Yes.
But you're right. Like the Eagles offense made it move against a pretty good 49ers defense in that NFC Championship game. Maybe not to the degree that the Eagles would have wanted, but still, they did a pretty good job in that game. I wonder about this matchup because I felt the Colts should have won that game on Saturday. Obviously happened. The Houston Texans did win that one, but last year on that Saturday where the entire Texans offense was Nico Collins, they had no business winning that game. Mm-hmm. Go back and rewatch it. It is crazy. They did nothing for large portions of the game on offense. And then Jonathan Taylor eventually got going for the Colts. And Gardner Minshew was just awful. He was totally bad. I can't believe that he's the Raiders starting quarterback. He was so bad last year. And specifically in that game. And I wonder how much better it'll be with Anthony Richardson. Now, we did touch on this earlier. This month, or I guess check that. It was last month, but like within the last month, we talked about how there were numerous Cincinnati Bengals in joint practices between the Colts and the Bengals that were roasting Anthony Richardson. Mm-hmm. They thought he was holding on to the football too long. They thought that all he could do was run. It has not been a great offseason for Anthony Richardson going into his second NFL season. Is he the X factor on Sunday? Or
he has to be. Because we know Taylor's going to have some success. He's a good running back still. You know Anthony Richardson's going to have success as well running the football. But you can beat Anthony Richardson if you can't throw. Like I like Anthony Richardson a lot as like a fantasy football quarterback in terms of just like he's going to have some long throws. He's going to have a lot of rushing yards and rushing touchdowns. But like I don't necessarily believe in him, the everyday quarterback, right now because he hasn't proven it. He hasn't proved that he can do the simple things. He can't throw the ball over the middle consistently. He struggles, it seems like, to read defenses. And of course, he can't stay on the field. He's been hurt too much. So he has to be the X factor. If those, like if the Cincinnati players just happen to see the worst days of Anthony Richardson, I think it's lowered our expectations for him. Those quotes specifically. Like you don't often hear guys dogging players like that. Because it wasn't just what the media was hearing during practice. Like they knew what was being said.
Yeah. The Colts have better receivers than you'd think. Michael Pittman Jr., big-bodied guy. Josh Downs, you might not have heard of him.
Sneaky good.
Guy had almost 800 yards receiving last year. And they just brought in Adonai Mitchell. And for those who have been paying attention to training camp highlights, Adonai Mitchell apparently has an incredible wiggle at the start of his routes where, like, right off the line of scrimmage, he is making people look silly. And for those who watched him at Texas, I'm sure you're already very familiar with him, and you would probably go back and forth. Who's better between Xavier Worthy and him? My God, what a receiving core Texas had last year. But to bring it back to this, they have guys to throw to. Mm-hmm. They sure do. And I think you could definitely ask yourself, hey, what happens if the Colts spread me out? Sean made a face there. I guess the phrasing of that was a little strange. But look, after your second corner, Kamari Lassiter, who, by the way, is a rookie, I don't know who your number 3 corner
And
is.
you look at, the one knock on him. So clearly going into the season was his 40 time. So like Mitchell is not someone you ever want to see him matched up with against. Jalen Petrie, while I like him in this new position and like his as the slot corner, do you really want him like as the third corner covering guys? I say no.
No.
So I don't even know if he moves back to safety for a play and they have like a more traditional cornerback in, I don't even know who it is right now.
Okuda?
I guess it's Okuda, which like great. Like don't love that matchup.
No.
The Texans corners are, I read 2 different articles now. One from ESPN. DJ actually was the one who said it was the offensive line was the Texans' biggest weakness. And then there was another one from the Athletic. And I'm still not sure it's not the cornerbacks as like the biggest weakness of this team. Because Lassiter's been awesome in camp, it seems like, but he's still a rookie.
Yeah. I mean, you're one injury away from being in a lot of shootouts this year, for lack of a better term, even if your pass rush is really, really good. And I have some doubts about Anthony Richardson. I know you've been consistent with your doubts of Anthony Richardson. I was a little more bullish on him until the last couple of weeks, and maybe I'm just a prisoner of reading too many ProFootballTalk.com articles.
I'm kind of where you are with like the zag. But like I'm almost at the point now with Anthony Richardson, I want to zag back. That like I'm a believer a little bit.
People are too down.
Like I feel like no, I know,
two
but like
up, and then now they're two down.
I feel like they're too down on him now, and I'm like, wait, like I don't think it's not this bad.
I don't know though. This is a take that you've been very right.
I know, but it's fine. I know.
I think we're in a good spot. I think it's healthy. I think early in the offseason, people didn't have enough doubts about Anthony Richardson because when you hear the stat, and I think it was DJ that brought it up, with 17 starts since he graduated high school. That is so few starts since graduating high school. And I think that's also going to play a part of it. And I think you can be optimistic on Anthony Richardson long term. I have a hard time being optimistic for Anthony Richardson in week 1 or even this year because, again, it'll be start 18 for him on Sunday since he graduated high school. So I think the inexperience there, he can be talented, but I think ultimately at being, doing the little things that a quarterback needs to do, something that CJ Stroud's very good at, even while being super young. I think those things are ultimately what's going to hold him back this year.
I think that the good news for Richardson, though, is that he has Shane Steichen. And I'm going to ask this question again because I asked it going into the segment. Who would you rather have right now, September 4th, 2024? DeMeco Ryans or Shane Steichen? And look, there's going to be natural bias here because 1, DeMeco Ryans played for this team. 2, DeMeco Ryans was borderline coach of the year last year and kicked the coach of the year's ass, the Browns and Kevin Stefanski, in his first ever playoff game as head coach. There's no denying that he is trending in the right direction as far as head coaches. But I know there's a lot of people out there that look at a person's background as a coach and they want the guy who's got an offensive mind. And I thought some of the stuff that Steichen was doing early on in that game where he had Anthony Richardson against the Texans was creative to the point where it seemed like they caught the Texans off guard with a lot of what they were doing. And there was motion going on, but it wasn't the cutesy Bobby Slowick motion that we've seen a couple of times.
Like purpose.
Right. It seemed to have a purpose. It wasn't Pep Hamilton motions, which were What's God.
He up to these days?
But well, he stopped by Texas training camp. I remember I was like, I recognize that guy. Who is it? And I guess he's an NFL Network guy now.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. I forget who he was there with because I was like, I think it was with Steve Weish. I was like, I know who that is. Why can I not put a face to a name to that face?
Yeah.
And then I found out it was Pep Hamilton.
Gotcha.
I hope he's doing good as an analyst. I truly do wish him well. I thought he was going to do really well that year, but there's all sorts of crazy motions. But Steichen, it's never pointless. And I mean, he had Gardner Minshew last year, and they were a game away from winning the AFC South and going to the playoffs. This is a good Colts team. I think Steichen's done a good job. And if I removed from my brain the knowledge that DeMeco Ryans has been here, will probably stay here for a while because of that, and because of the fact that he played in the NFL. If I remove like knowing his time here with the Houston Texans, I think I would be more open to picking Shane Steichen over DeMeco Ryans.
Yeah, it's not really popular here, but I'm picking Shane Steichen. They went from 4 wins to 9 wins. You went from 3 wins to 10 wins, but they did it with Gardner Minshew and Anthony Richardson, who has 17 starts. He played 1 game for 4 full quarters last year. So what they did last year was very impressive with their turnaround. And it's not super fair to DeMeco, but I know, okay, before I say this, I know the 49ers defensive coordinator got fired last year, but the 49ers defense was still pretty damn good last year. But look at Jalen Hurts. Like Jalen Hurts going into last year was a top 5 quarterback in the NFL because Shane Steichen was his OC. And look what happened after.
That's a great point.
Like, it's just, I see.
Is it all him? I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah.
But I think that's a great point.
It's just like between what he did with Gardner and Richardson and then what happened to Hurts, and the 49ers still went to the Super Bowl without DeMeco. I love DeMeco. But before DeMeco got hired, Steichen was the guy that I wanted, him and Ben Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad DeMeco's the coach, but I would still say, like, if they both went into free agency right now, I would say hire the offensive guy because Bobby Sloak's going to walk at the end of the season.
Yeah, sometimes a coach can get more out of a quarterback than others. Now, he's not a coordinator anymore. He's the head coach of the team and different responsibilities. You're not always as hands-on, but I'm assuming Shane Steichen's very hands-on with that Colts offense. And I think about Arthur Smith. When Arthur Smith was in Tennessee with Ryan Tannehill had his best ever season. And people were saying insane things about him, but to Tannehill's credit, he played really well in that year. And I thought a lot of it had to do with Arthur Smith. Smith leaves and Tannehill came back to earth a lot. Sometimes the coach makes the guy better. I think Steichen can make Anthony Richardson better. Is he going to make him better in week 1? I'm on the fence there. It's going to be an interesting game, though. It is a team that the Texans are more talented than the Colts. They have bigger names than the guys that are on the Indianapolis Colts. But I to what you were saying, Steichen got a lot out of that squad last year, and they added to it. It's going to be a tough game on Sunday.